I'm just feeling awesome.
Good, good.
I have to talk
Maybe we
about.
need to switch that more often. I go first.
Yes,
So
I
that you
thought
get
I
my
would put you on
fair to
this.
Midland. Put me on the
Yes.
spot. Yeah. Well, we have some wonderful guests with us today from the Association of African American Cultural Gardens. We have the Ewings, both Levita and Carl. And they're going to tell us all about what they're doing. So, Carl, Levita, which one?
Well,
Give us an idea of what the
what
Association of
maybe
African.
I'll start off and then I'll let my lovely wife take over. Well, I just want to tell the story of the gardens, how we became involved, and what it means to us, and hopefully what it will mean to all of you. The gardens were probably the best kept secret as far as I was concerned, because I knew very little about it prior to becoming involved, having traveled down about 7 years ago, right behind the One World Day. I asked some folks, what's going on down here? They said, oh, we're just completing our One World Day festivities. I said, what's One World Day? They said, well, it's a celebration of all the different ethnic groups. They get together to celebrate. I said, oh, you all celebrate. I said, well, do we celebrate as black folks? Are we part of this? They said, yes, you are. I said, oh, well, where's our garden? They said, oh, it's right around there. I said, okay. So I got back in the car. I told the wife, come on, let's go right around there and find our garden. Mm-hmm. We drove right around there, and I wound up at the lake. And I came back, and I said, well, I drove again, and I still didn't see it, and I caught up with the group. And then I returned again to the same place, and I happened to see a sister sitting over there by a pole. And I said, sister, where's our garden? She said, right here, brother. I stopped, I looked, and all I saw was a pole with some very lovely flowers. This was our claim to fame. And I said, right then and there, this will never do. This will never do. So we set about a mission. I told my wife we've got to get involved. She says, oh, look, my plate is full. No, I'm not getting involved in another one of your projects. That's it. I said, okay, so much for that. We're being very happily retired. I just needed another something to take up my time. It has proven to be a mission of love. It started out a little nobody, but I mean, not when I say a little nobody.
A poll.
A poll. We have amassed, we have a group of dedicated volunteers. We're all volunteers. There are no paychecks that are drawn.
Awesome.
The only cash that you get is the redemption, the self-gratification to know that you have contributed to the longevity of your people. It's totally an experience. And with that, I'll just pass the baton over to my wife because she's just biting at the bit to get started.
Well, I'd like to start by saying Dan Bickerstaff, our architect, actually went to Africa to envision the design for the garden. Our garden represents the past, the present, and the future. You have to know your past in order to live in the present to appreciate your future, and that's what our garden represents. So in 2015, our garden, we broke ground for phase one of our garden, which is the past pavilion, which is on the top of the hill where Wheelock Avenue is. So our garden is at the MLK and St. Clair exit, starting at the top of the hill where Wheelock is, going all the way down to MLK. And as Carl said, there's 4.5 acres that belong to the African American Cultural Garden. So we're pretty excited that phase one has been completed and dedicated, and we are embarking on finishing the garden. This June 2019, our goal is to break ground for phase two of the garden, and we have set out with our 2020 campaign, which we started this past Juneteenth in June of 2018. So our goal is for each African American, each person in Greater Cleveland, to donate $20.20, which will help complete the African American Cultural Garden. We're pretty excited about that. We have done several fundraising events, which we're going to be doing again this year. But the other thing that we're doing this year is having some educational opportunities. We have kicked off, or we will be kicking off, our Heritage Series. We're pretty excited to have Dr. Ronnie Dunn from Cleveland State University as our first speaker in our Heritage Series, which is going to be on February 21st at the East Cleveland Library at 5:30, just offering a goodwill donation, but it's a free event. Come and learn about the history of African Americans in Greater Cleveland. Where did we settle when we first came? Many people know that it was the central area of Cleveland, but many people don't. Who were the major players there? What kind of contributions have they given African Americans that we can look back and appreciate today? So it's going to be a very enlightening presentation that Dr. Ronnie Dunn is going to be doing, and we do hope that you come and be a part of that. Our second discussion will be with the Reverend Dr. Otis Moss Jr. In April 15th. Dr. Moss will be at the Greater Abyssinia Baptist Church on our behalf, where the pastor, E.T. Cavanis, is pastor, and he will be talking about the African American churches here in Greater Cleveland. Where do we all start? Here again, the central neighborhood, we broke up and we expanded across Greater Cleveland, and he will be discussing that, and we are very, very excited. And then there are two other ones that are coming up before the year's over. But the goal of our organization, the mission, is to educate about the African American culture and to finish our garden.
And I just want to put another plug to get a firsthand glimpse of what it will be like. We invite you to go to our website at aacg.org, and they'll give a very lovely pictorial description of just how the garden is going to look in its final stage. And then also, if you would go to our Facebook, and Twitter, we have the whole gamut of things, and we need your help. We need the help of all Clevelanders to like us on your Facebook, to enlist us on your websites, get the message out, because as I said, as my wife mentioned, it's probably one of the best kept secrets in the city, that we don't know that we have an African American cultural gardens that belongs to all of us.
Right. So, click on there and follow them on Twitter as well.
Absolutely.
That is the best kept secret, because I have drove down, you mentioned the One World Day, I've done that, and I didn't see our garden. This was some time ago. I didn't know it was there. But this is awesome.
Yes, we take part in the One World Day now. Every year we walk proudly down that cascade of nations, and then we go over to our garden. And the truth be told, our garden is one of the most well-attended gardens at One World Day. We have a game called Jeopardy, and what the Jeopardy is about, it is all about Black history. We have them lined up waiting, black and white, waiting to answer the questions, the challenges that we have. And it's built all along the Jeopardy game. The people stand there waiting in line.
Awesome.
I also want to mention that we do have a fundraising event coming up actually this Sunday. It's going to be at Sault City of Angels Dance Studio. So we're really excited that the Latino community is embracing Black History Month and doing a fundraiser specifically for the garden.
Wow.
It's located at 661 Broadway.
This is our first.
In Bedford, Ohio. There will be a performance of dancing, Cuban dancing, and Simba. Simba is a high-spirited African partner dance that they will be doing, and they will be teaching dance. And they're asking for donations of $15, but we're very excited.
Because
that
all
they
of it
are-
goes to us. They're giving it all to
they're
us.
going to-
Amazing.
Awesome. Yes.
This is next Sunday?
This is next Sunday.
Oh, where again?
At the Sault City of Angels Dance Studio. That's SALCITY of Angels Dance Studio at 661 Broadway in Bedford, Ohio.
Wow.
And what time is this going to start?
Okay, this is going to start at 4 o'clock, which they will start with the African dance class of Zimboa, and then it'll go until about 6:30, and so we'd love to have you come. And
Yeah, we can come over right after the show.
Yes.
That would be awesome.
Yes, absolutely.
That is really awesome. I was doing a little reading on the background of the culture garden. And I found out that someone that my mother used to talk about all the time when I was in high school, Booker Tall.
Yes. Booker
Tell us
Tall.
about Booker Tall and the garden.
Well, Booker Tall gave birth to the dream. He was a professor at Tri-C. He was a community activist, and he was concerned that all too often the black man, at that time we were Negroes,
Right.
the black man was excluded from a lot of things. And being an activist, he set out to change that. He set out on a two-man crusade. He petitioned. He picketed. He did any and everything possible to bring attention to this plight. And then with him, there came I'll say right before him was the councilman Leo Jackson. Mm-hmm. Again, they're pioneers. We stand on the shoulders of great people who gave birth to this idea, but Booker Tall was the one that actually got it going. And then on his untimely death, things sort of went south. But then we had other persons that got involved, and here we are today.
So it's actually Mayor Bornovich who gave us the land in 1977, with Dr. Booker Tall being the advocate for it.
Right.
And so we're very, very appreciative of that. And then Mayor Michael White actually had the railroad donate the seed money for the garden when he was mayor. So it's been around for a while, and we're very, very fortunate that in, I think it was 2012, Mayor Jackson actually had a task force to help to raise funds for phase 1.
Excellent.
And I sit on that task force, so he was very, very active. He is indeed still one of our
today.
strongest supporters.
That is really amazing. The history of East Boulevard, I understand that back in the 20s, and maybe I say go 30s, in the early 30s, blacks started to migrate here to Cleveland, Ohio. And that was the area that,
Part of the Great Migration.
that they started to come filling in and living in those areas.
Absolutely.
And that was just really exciting to read that, the people from the South, came here, and then they wind up being over here, what we call the Gold Coast.
Absolutely. I can remember as in my youth, we lived on the corner of 93rd and Wade Park. And not having a car, we fixed our sandwiches, put them in what I call a croaker sack, and we went down the hill to the park. That was our way. We had no car, so that was our way out of town. And the swings are still there. We had, as in my youth. So the park has some very, very, very strong history for me.
And I grew up in Glenville.
Okay.
I grew up in Glenville, right where the Cultural Gardens are on Empire Avenue, and went through the Cultural Gardens, and we talked about the Cultural Gardens I can remember talking about in our history class. And we talked about why isn't there a African American garden, we called it a black garden back then.
A black garden, yes.
But, but that was a discussion back then. So it's been around for a while, and I'm glad to see that we are moving forward in getting our design built. And that's our goal, to finish the garden, to finish the present pavilion and the future pavilion.
Okay.
And as I said, our goal is for each person to donate $20.20 in hopes of completing the garden by June of 2020. But definitely breaking ground this June.
What is most important with all of this is that if not for my children today, not for your children today, the children tomorrow,
Right.
those persons will see and realize the importance. About 3 years ago, I was down digging in the soil down there doing something, and this little black kid and his grandma came by, and they were just walking, and and I remember this to this day. I heard him call out, "Grandma, where's our garden? Where's our garden?" And that struck me. 3 years later, that young man came back.
Did he?
Came back, and with that grandma, and his chest was just as proud. He said, "There it is there. The doorway of no return was standing on top of the hill, a beacon in the sun." I was so elated to have him back there, and it was for a Juneteenth celebration.
So they actually
wow.
do have the doorway of return there.
Phase 1 is done.
Phase 1 is done. It's sitting up there. The sun, when it hits, you could just go up there and stand in the doorway and just see it. It's just so majestic, I'll tell you. It's just, and then we have the flowers and the things that come down that will represent just how it's going to look once it's finished. Those are just temporary. But oh yes, we have the doorway of no return standing right on top of the hill at Willock Avenue.
So the doorway of no return, as you probably know, represents our ancestors coming
Yes.
from Africa, going
Yes.
through a doorway and a corridor of no return.
That's
we have an
there.
infinity fountain there, which represents the Atlantic Ocean, because once our ancestors saw that water, they knew that their lives would be changed forever.
And so the
And-
land of freedom.
The land of freedom,
Well,
not necessarily.
Not in the beginning.
No,
Well,
no.
as time went on, you know,
Right.
it
Let
took
me-
some time to
It's
get
our
there.
past.
Let me
It's our
just
past,
give you.
because
Let
we-
me just give you a little history. You know, when
Look at
they
this.
left, they left. The Africans were ripped from their homelands. The kings and queens, the proud people, were ripped and taken in bondage in these ships, taken there. And that large platform represents the different parts of the world that they were taken as slaves.
that's beautiful.
Remember, they left as slaves. I mean, they left as proud Africans. They're
Right.
slaves here. So we lost our
So
honor.
sad.
So it goes through the journey.
Yes.
On that 50-foot granite are the slave trades from Western Africa to North and South America. But the present pavilion also represents us emerging as a people to the top of our game in every area: music, science, history, education, medicine,
Those
president of the United
stairs
States
will-
of America.
Those stairs will allow you to
The past,
walk up
the
and-
present,
and the future.
and the
Yes.
future.
We
Yes.
learn from our past as we live in the present to secure our future.
So
Absolutely.
we want our future
And-
generations to know that you can aspire to be anything that you want in this country.
Oh, yes.
And
You
this-
can do it all.
This is our little logo that we use. It's the Sankofa bird, the bird of knowledge, flying forward but always reaching back
Backwards.
for that egg. You know, to know where you're going, you've got to know from where you came.
Exactly. And when, you know, there's so much history here in the Northeast Ohio area. And this is Black History Month. And this is just awesome. And you all grew up, and did you come from Glenville as well?
No, I went to the John Hay.
The John Hay. Okay, and you, so therefore you were there when it was, before it became,
I
young
was
ladies are able
yes,
to go to
I
John
was the
Hay.
first. I was the first. What's called Hornet. They were all bookkeepers. I was the first.
First
Hornet
morning.
Queen.
Wow. And you're Tar Blooder?
Tarbler, yes, yes.
So tell us what it was like at that time growing up here in Cleveland.
Well,
the challenges or
of course, I came from West Virginia. My parents came here because the coal mines had closed in West Virginia, and my father got a job here at the post office, and they bought a house in the Glenville area, and so we went to school there, and so it was all pretty. We led a pretty sheltered kind of life. So the thing that kind of resonated as to what was going on was, of course, in the 60s, there was a lot of unrest. And even though there were a few Caucasians still in the area in terms of store owners and that, the community was basically African American. And the riots came, and that was a scary time. But it was a time when, of course, I was getting ready to go off to college. And of course, going to college, I saw more white people there than I'd ever seen in my life.
Okay.
Because I grew up in an African American community, came from an African American community in West Virginia. So it was definitely different. But it was a time when people really valued education.
Yes.
When I was growing up, my parents always voted for the school levies, always participated in school with us, knew what was going on, always went to open house, always had expectations of us as children as to what we needed to do. So we did all right as a family.
And you, Carl?
And unfortunately, mine was just the opposite. I was the kid from the other side of the tracks.
Okay.
You know, having had 9 brothers and sisters, single parent home, we lived wherever we lived before the rent was due.
Okay.
I had a very close family, only out of necessity. only out of necessity. We never had the Christmas trees and the things like that. We had the shirts down with the things so that we, on Christmas, would go to the Salvation Army to get our toys. I can remember very vividly the sneak attacks, I called it. We were on the welfare system, how the white folks would come, stand us up, go along around, to measure the shoes, put the shoes beside the guys, to find out if, in fact, there was a man living in that house.
Are you serious?
I can remember very well
Wow.
the stories. But it didn't stop me because it only reinforced me.
Motivated you.
Yes. I was determined, and in fact, I was the first one in my family and the first one of the Cleveland Scholarship programs to go to college.
All right.
And that's where I met this lovely young lady. They say opposites attract.
Yeah.
I was different as night and day, I'll tell you. But after 42 years, it could only get better.
What college?
Kent State.
Ah.
And we were down during the shootings, when the shootings took place and the tear gas was running, they ran back, and I'm going to get back out there again and go. And then when the National Guard turned to start shooting, and again, did it out of fear. Falling over bodies, the blood running and all of that.
So you guys have survived.
Oh,
You have
And
truly
we are
survived and seen some
excited
things.
to be a part of the African American Cultural Garden, the association. We're excited to be a part of the
Showcasing our history.
showcasing our history.
And I look
is
forward.
very well to put it, yes. And we're
That's very well
excited
put.
to be on this fundraising campaign and getting people on board and getting people excited about the garden, wanting them to become members, not only individual members, but businesses. Be a business partner of ours. Be a corporate sponsor of ours. Help us to get the word out about the garden. Help us and come to our events and learn about the African American experience.
And this won't be
here.
just a one-time experience with the garden if you would to donate or volunteer or be a corporate rep, because you got to, once you finish with the phases, you got to
Right, we
maintain
have
it.
to have
Our
an endowment.
education.
We'll have an endowment that will help to keep and maintain the gardens. It has to
Yeah.
be maintained. This
Yes.
is- yes.
Yeah. Go ahead, John. You were going to say something.
Oh, I was going to say, for donors or anything, is there going to be something like in the gardens that where they can?
Oh, have their name on a wall for your
Well,
big donors.
The Cleveland Federation of Cultural Gardens do have
Prohibit.
a prohibit where the garden should be about cultural diversity and not advertising.
Okay.
So we have to advertise on our website. We advertise. On
That's a
our
good idea,
marketing,
actually.
Because as you see, there are no footers, there are no pavements with Jimmy Jones
Yeah, that's-
barbershop having given those. They want to make sure that it's the serenity
It's
is
community.
maintained.
No,
Yeah,
right.
the serenity, and it's all about one community and the different ethnicities and cultures.
Absolutely,
Yes.
in the community.
absolutely.
And so that's for
Representing
all
all.
the gardens.
Oh, okay.
Because you have a lot of the other gardens over there. You've
Yeah.
got the Hungarian garden, the Italian gardens, and things
Polish.
like that.
So
There
you'll
are
see that none of them
32
have
there are
advertising
32
of food
gardens.
donations.
32
32?
different gardens.
And we have 7 in waiting.
Oh,
There's 7 gardens. The French, the Ethiopians were just admitted. There are just loads of. We have the Latino population that submitted their requests. I sit on the executive board, so we're petitioned all the time.
That is great. That is great. And, I think that's just beautiful that we can come and see all the different nationalities, because we all have a flower or plant that represents your country, or
Culture
your
or
culture.
ethnicity.
Yes, yes.
And I want to give a plug for the Federation. The Federation is an association that's dedicated to fostering brotherhood and sisterhood. So I kudos to them, because they certainly are very receptive in every area. They get everyone involved.
Now,
that's awesome.
when the people come out, they can go and visit the other gardens as
Oh,
well.
absolutely.
They're welcome to
Absolutely.
come. And all of this is free.
Absolutely,
that
absolutely.
walk.
No
Take
charge.
that walk.
Yes, and as Carl said, the land, all of that land belongs to the city of Cleveland.
Okay.
But managed by each individual association.
That is great. That is really great.
If someone wanted to be a volunteer, how they do that.
Well, they simply just go to our website and put their name and whatever there, and they will then contact me or my persons that are involved in that. And we sure need them. So please, please, I beg of you.
And you can call this number here,
That's
216-509-6427, which is our phone number.
Okay.
Tell them that you want to leave a message that you want to volunteer, and we will get back to you.
And that number again?
That number is 216-509-6427
That's for volunteership, and you can also go to their website
at aacg.org.
This is great. This is a good way for
CG.org.
families
Yes.
Absolutely.
to get their children involved.
Yeah.
and do something as a family.
Yeah,
And
that's-
we
As a
have
family
that.
outing, learning how to plan.
and volunteership, you know, a
Yes.
way of teaching your kids
Absolutely.
about volunteership.
Yeah, and I believe in volunteering as early as at an early age.
3, 4.
Yes, because
We
you
have
can
little
never.
we have little groups. I'm sorry to interrupt. We have
that's
little
okay.
brownies that come over in a group. In
Girl
spring,
Scouts.
they come over and they're doing the planting of the flowers. Oh yes, the brownies in the early spring.
That is awesome. Girl Scouts are coming.
Girl
too.
Scouts too. We have the different organizations from Case Western Reserve. Kent State does their day of service where they come and everybody comes to work at the African American Cultural
That
Garden.
is really awesome. So yeah, please come out and take advantage of this and support this wonderful garden because we have so many talents as people of color. And as I said this month, as Black History Month, and we have so many people who have invented. We have so many inventors just right here from Cleveland.
Absolutely.
You know, from the stoplight to doing our hair to making
Absolutely.
clothes and, you know, vehicles.
History is right here. Yeah.
Architect, you know. We have a lot going on here. And I think this is just really great. I'm so amazed of how it looks. Now, what are we going to have coming to look forward within the next phase? What's all in the next phase?
In the next phase, we hope to finish the future pavilion. There are benches there that we hope to put up and move forward to the present pavilion. We need to get the waterway in. So all of that needs to be done. Exactly the way it's going to be done, I am not sure. You know, our architect, our project managers will determine that. But the goal, as I said before, is to break ground Juneteenth, 2019.
Okay.
But now this is all possible, again, through donations. We need each of us to contribute because this is totally a voluntary. There are no money being provided by the city for any of the gardens. It's all through your own fundraising efforts.
Carl, may I ask how much is needed to get this off and going? What are we trying to raise here?
Give her that thing.
$2.6 million will get the entire project done.
And we need that by Juneteenth?
Well, we don't need it by Juneteenth. We do have monies that we have raised so far. I don't know the exact amount of it, but it's enough for us to get started with breaking ground
For phase two.
for phase 2.
And so if everyone does at least $20.20,
Yeah.
go
we
to our
can get this
website.
done.
Yes.
Absolutely.
$20.20.
Right. And like us on Facebook.
That's
Spread the word
right.
with your friends, your family.
Follow on Twitter.
Right.
Periscope.
I
Yeah.
challenge each
Instagram.
person to go to their website or Facebook, get 5 friends, and have those 5 friends to contact someone. And those 5 friends, you will see how the
Exactly.
mustard seed just grows and take root.
Yes, because we go through $20 like it's
Oh,
nothing.
like it's not.
And like it on your birthday or something like on Facebook where you could pick somewhere to donate. Here you go.
Absolutely.
Right. Donate
Absolutely.
to the
The
garden.
Culture Garden.
Right, and the one thing about Facebook is that they don't take any monies from that.
Okay.
Whereas PayPal, you know, you have to
They take
There's
a
that
certain.
little fee.
a little
sir,
1%
surcharge
fee,
fee,
or
yeah.
2% fee, you know, depending. We are a 501c3 nonprofit organization.
Okay.
So all of your donations are tax deductible per IRS guidelines. No goods or services are provided, and so we are very, very willing to give you a statement if you so desire.
Awesome.
For your taxes.
Okay, so tax write-off? Mm-hmm.
That
Okay.
could be a tax write-off.
Okay.
Want you to remember our fundraising events and support them. As I said, you know, we're very, very pleased to have one coming up this Sunday
Okay.
at the Saw City of Angels Dance Studio. The donation is $15. But come and learn about African dance and
Exactly.
learn about Cuban dancing.
Yes.
And it's a fun event with performances and classes to help get you engaged with dance.
And then I invite you to come out to the East Cleveland Library on February the 21st to hear the first of our guest speakers, Dr. Rodney Dunn of Cleveland State University, Chief Diversity and Inclusion Officer.
You know, I want to give a big shout out for East Cleveland Library as well. I've been to quite a few different events they hold throughout all year long, and I don't think they get enough publicity because they really do service the community,
Absolutely.
and they keep the community involved in a lot of different classes, and they have different meetings and just things that the community, people in the neighborhood can come and join,
Yes.
and it costs nothing.
Absolutely.
You know, it's the world's best kept secret.
Yes.
Not to say that the rest of the libraries do not do it, but as far as, you know, a black
The
library.
way East Cleveland is
Yes.
really being a center for their community, which tells you, you know, a little bit there that now, you know, they get a lot of bad publicity.
Yes,
But yet, here you got this library doing all this.
yes. The library is like really a gold mine over there, and it's great to see because a lot of the families bring their children there and they participate. And they didn't really, well, I did a little remodeling, but they still have the old wood and everything. It's beautiful.
Beautiful.
You know, yes, I love the way it smelled too. It's something about the library to me. Library and books. Because when I was growing up as a little girl, my mother, we walked every day to the library. And I can remember coming to, there was a library in Huff.
Oh, yes, Crawford and Huff.
Crawford and Huff.
Oh, that was
and
my
what
library.
always stood out to me about that library was they had the big giant letters, the A, B, and C, and D, and whatnot, and just the smell of it, and I just love the library. So today I have a lot of
That was
books.
my
I love
first
the
library,
library.
yes.
Yeah. Now over at Crawford, they do not have the Crawford Museum. Is the Crawford
Well,
Museum?
they are trying. Francis Caldwell is still working on that project.
Okay.
The African American Museum. That's where it's at.
Yeah, because I know
Oh,
years ago I went to an event there, but I haven't heard really much more about the
She
museum
was
there.
given a grant just not too long ago, and they're working on the roof.
Okay.
They're getting that roof done. But yes, it's still a work in process.
Now, here at the Culture Gardens, will there be a inside facility where you can go in?
No.
No,
It's-
so
it's-
everything is going to be held outdoors.
But the Federation is actually doing a welcome center. Carl, do you want to
Yes,
tell
that's
them
right diagonal from the Irish Garden, sitting right on top of the hill. There's that faded burgundy building.
Right.
In fact, they're scheduled to have that completed this year. They're
Okay.
opening that up as a welcome center for
Awesome.
all the gardens. All the gardens. That was one of my pet things I was pushing to get that. And they said, oh, no, we'll do this at there, having that garden.
I think that would be awesome. I mean, it looks like this is be a jewel for the
Oh,
city, for
absolutely.
tourism,
Yes.
and
Especially for
I
public
I mean,
school system.
yeah, and
you
our
know.
public school system.
Well, I'll tell you, to be honest, I do have ulterior motives. I'm thinking of right across the street from us at Willock, we finally have that land grazed. I would love to have an African American welcome center there. But again, that's on the back burner. Nobody knows about that, so don't say anything.
Okay, so another project for you and your
Yes,
wife.
yes, yes.
So we're worldwide, but all of you out there, mum's the
Don't
word.
say the word.
I think that would be great, though.
Mm-hmm.
We can never get enough of learning of our history.
Right. We've got so much land over there, so why not take advantage
Take
of it?
advantage of it and use it. You know, I think it's awesome. Cleveland in this area, it's always been an area about diversity, I think, in its entire history, and its lumps and its bumps. But like on Twitter today, I was just talking to some people, and one of the things I told them, I've been to different countries and different places, but I've always, it wasn't the United States per se that I missed. I missed where I was born. Even though I was raised in Cincinnati, I've always felt, and I missed this area. And that's why I missed. That's why I came back to.
Great.
You know,
It's a great city.
and it's a great city, and mainly it's because not just the way it looks, but the people.
And you were born in Cincinnati.
No, I
You were
was
born
born
in
in
Cleveland.
actually
And I was
Warrensville.
I was born in Cincinnati, but came.
Oh,
right here,
really?
Yes.
Yeah, I was born in Warrensville,
Oh.
the old Brentwood.
Oh, yeah.
Brentwood
Brentwood
Hospital,
Brentwood
yeah.
Hospital, yeah, yeah.
Yes, indeed. So, do you guys go out and do talks?
Oh,
Yes, yes, and we would be very pleased if you want us to come to your organization, to your church, to your business, and talk about the African American Cultural Garden, what we're doing. We will be more than happy to have a speaker come out. We will come out to let you know what we're doing.
I think that would be great because we have a lot of big businesses here that support a lot of different
Yeah.
foundations and needs, and we have all these big banks around here because I work at one. I think it would be great if you all would get in touch with someone at our bank,
Okay?
and maybe you can come and be a speaker because we have different ethnic
Things that we do.
that
They
we
do
do
a
in
lot
our
of,
job.
you
Right,
know.
and just so you know, for phase one, our businesses, our banks did come on board to help us raise the money that Carl
Awesome.
talked about to finish phase one, but, we need more.
Yeah,
We need more.
I mean, because at a place of employment, it would be a nice way for the people of the employees. They could just donate a little something from the paycheck and have it on the auto pay.
well, in fact, I have met with the city, and that's in the works, where they will be making, they'll be able to go, just as you do the United Appeal, United Way.
The United Way,
They're
that's
wor-
what I was
they
thinking
are
about.
working on that now to be able to just make those deductions.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
good.
yeah.
Now, I have a question. I found it interesting. You said that the Ethiopians have petitioned to get a garden. So the African American garden represents just African Americans.
Yes, us Americans who are
African,
Africans
okay.
from Africa.
Okay, and so then the
Through the
Ethiopians
slavery
could have their
experience.
own. So that's why. Okay, I get it. 'Cause
Yeah.
I'm like, aren't
It's good.
I thought we were all
Yeah.
together too,
Yeah.
but I
That's
said,
a
okay,
very,
well,
very good question. Very good
It is.
question. And at this time, I don't think we are at liberty to really, because our garden is African American. There's always something or some reason why this was done. For a while there, we were not allowed the garden. It was voted down. The city of Cleveland voted it down. They
In
did not.
1966.
Yeah, they did not want an African American garden. So
It's true.
Well, what did they call it in 1966? We weren't called African
Negro.
We were
Americans.
Negroes.
So it would have been a
back then.
Negro
It
garden.
was the
Yes.
Negro garden.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay.
Gotcha. All right.
Right.
But I mean, I can see why, so to speak.
You have
the
to look at the
Ethiopians-
time. Oh.
and also that the time. I think when you, like when I say, like in my mind, when I'm thinking Afro American, I'm thinking the descendants of people who were brought over as slaves. Ethiopians generally were not
Right.
brought over as slaves on that side of Africa. So they had more colonialism and imperialism, Ethiopians, Kenyans, Rwanda, on the eastern side. They mainly came from Western and Central Africa.
We also want you to know of other ways that you can help with our fundraising efforts. I think Carl told you about our TAB program, where
No.
you can collect tabs off of pop cans,
Soup cans.
soup cans, pet cans, and collect them. And just call that number 216-509-6427, and we'll come pick them up monthly. And it's a way of recycling, protecting the environment, and helping us to raise a little bit of money. So we encourage you to call and find out more about that. The other thing that you can do is to go to smile.amazon, which is the same as going to Amazon. Put in the Association of African American Cultural Garden
Okay.
as your charity of choice, and they will donate 1% of whatever you buy.
Off of
They're
Amazon.
Off of Amazon.
I like
They're
that.
fine-
I
right.
like that.
You
So
see-
these things aren't costing you anything,
Anything.
but it's helping us to raise money for the garden.
Say that smile thing again, because I don't think people
Right.
really.
It's called Smile.Amazon, which is the foundation of Amazon. So you go there, you see all of their products the same way. They ask you what charity do you want to support, put in the Association of African American Cultural Garden, which is a 501c3, and they will donate 1% of whatever you buy to that charity of your choice.
And again, you must realize and understand that this is a grassroots effort. We have no large sponsoring organization. We have no one behind us. We don't have the African Federation. We don't have the Black Business Association. We have just the volunteers, such as yourselves, that make those contributions that allow this money to be. So the different projects that we come up with, the tabs, that was one of our members came up with this idea. And it's just proven to be very successful. You'd be surprised how these things add up. Again, it's all grassroots, and we need each and every person to make those contributions.
Well, you know, I think that's great because in a lot of your neighborhoods now, they're separating the garbage,
Right.
recycling. And in my neighborhood, that's what they do. So that would be good if you can maybe get out and have a meeting with the cities, director of the different cities that are doing recycling. And that's just one more little easy step that the homeowner can do and have a separate bag for that.
We
you
have
know?
the containers. We have the plastic round containers with our logo and things on them that we can deliver.
That's great. That is really great. So the upcoming events, I know you mentioned February. So throughout the year, each
Next
month
Sunday.
you will be having something.
Absolutely. Well, you know, we look
You have a
forward.
calendar
Yes,
on the
it will count
website?
on the website.
Okay.
Of course, one of the highlights of the year is our Juneteenth celebration, which is Saturday, June the 15th, the day before Father's Day. We usually have the street, Martin Luther King, closed off completely at our area, and it's festivities all day long. We've done
Family
that.
oriented.
Now, you know, Carl, I just realized something else about Juneteenth. Cleveland just recently started selling Juneteenth. I heard about it when me and my girlfriend, Mother Love, did a lot of traveling, and Columbus was big in doing Juneteenth. So would you tell us a little bit about Juneteenth for
Yes.
those in our audience that's not aware
Well,
of what Juneteenth is?
you know, American history is something. It's supposed to have been inclusive of everyone. Now, do you know the great Emancipation Proclamation? When Abraham Lincoln freed the slaves, he said to all slaves, now, you know, there's always some little catch to that. Catch 22. Freed the slaves and only those states that were rebellious, not the whole United States, only those states that were rebellious. But here's another thing. The southern states, a couple of them, and Texas in particular, they were determined to keep their slaves working. So, you know, we didn't have the website. We didn't have the telephone system. Pony Express, word of mouth, was probably the only way that news was ever gotten. So this one particular soldier drove up, I like to say drove up, but he actually rode up on his horse and saw and witnessed all these black folks still out in the field. You know, they were out in the field working like slaves. And he said, what are you all doing out here working like this? He said, well, we slaves. What do you mean you're slaves? He said, well, that's what we're supposed to be doing. We're slaves. You didn't get the news. You didn't get the memo. What was that memo? That President Lincoln had freed you all. You're free. What? You should have seen the mass exodus. They was dropping those rakes, dropping those things. They said, oh, we're free. You know, 2 years. It was 2 years, 2.5 years after emancipation was signed that these folks were still working on the field. And I'm sure at the local gatherings where the slave masters get together and hum and say how much money they'll raise on their cotton, they told about the story about, you know, that guy, that northerner freed those slaves up there. We ain't saying nothing.
So that was a day of celebration,
Juneteenth.
when in Galveston, Texas, that those slaves knew
So
that they were free.
it starts with June 13th up until the 19th.
All right. So, and where are you guys going to be again? Let the audience know.
We're going to be at our African American site, African American cultural site down on Martin Luther King Boulevard on Saturday, June the 15th. All are welcome to come and partake.
Of our Juneteenth celebration.
celebration.
Excellent. And I know they have vendors and
Oh yes, we'll
So-
have vendors, we'll have food, we'll have dancing, we have kids blow up houses and
the fun houses, jump
bouncing houses.
bounce
No.
house. Yes,
yeah,
bounce house.
we have a whole gamut of things. We have DJs. It's just
Just a nice family.
just a
affair for
nice one. And
everyone.
we've been doing this for the last 6 years now.
Awesome.
Is this also?
And you guys also participate in the One World Day. And what
Absolutely,
day
One
is
World
that?
Day. This year is going to be August the 28th. August the 28th, where they close down on Martin Luther King Day. Martin Luther King Park again. And it's just all the vendors from all the different ethnic groups get together. It's one hellacious block party. It's when people really get together and socialize. And then to cap that off, we have the naturalization, where the naturalization program, where those persons seeking citizenship are sworn in by the federal judge at that 1 o'clock part of the service. So we have that.
That is going to be
Oh, so that's
really
pretty awesome. So they have an immigration
Mm-hmm.
celebration
Absolutely.
going on too. Because I was reading somewhere where Cleveland, specifically Cleveland,
Mm-hmm.
Ohio, has the most immigration acceptance. People come here and they become U.S. citizens.
U.S. citizens.
So that's a part of that
That's
celebration.
it. We
Awesome.
average 30 to 40 people
Okay,
that are nationalized that day.
nationalized.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome,
It's really
awesome.
great. Wow. We just have so much going
Oh,
on.
I'll tell you,
know,
Cleveland's the
and I-
best place.
It is, and so much, just so much for our community, and to educate, educate our youth. These are stories that should be shared and to continue to be shared in our families, So please come out and bring your kids, get your grandparents out.
And be involved,
of the house.
volunteer.
Take advantage and see some of this beautiful, the gardens. I just can't wait to get over there to see the gardens because, quite
is
honestly,
coming.
I've never been to the gardens. I just ride through there,
Oh, my.
And as a kid, it was always so beautiful going over the bridge. They had the little bridge, and it was always pretty. and
It's
green
fashioned
and-
after Central Park. John D. Rockefeller
Yes.
fashioned it after Central Park.
And the different statues, have they rebuilt the statues back? Because I know it wasn't.
Smaller
I
than
guess
Central Park, but it's still, I think, just as beautiful.
there was vandalism over there
Oh,
too, where
yes.
they were, but they repaired and fixed all that up.
What's the total acreage of the park itself?
I
I
don't
think it's about
know.
100 acres. I'm not really sure. but
I don't
it
think
seems
it's
like
100. I don't think it's actually 100. I know we have our lion's share. We have 4.5 acres,
Right.
the largest in the whole system. So
Wow.
So they sort of gave you. I wonder about that. We were promised 40 acres and a mule,
So we got 4 of them.
so we got 10%
and
of what we were
probably
supposed to
Better than
get.
nothing.
and probably at the time when it was that section was probably less desirable, but it's
Yeah.
it's a jewel. It's a jewel.
Thank goodness for someone like Booker Till.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And
Forward thinking.
Mayor Voinovich at the
Yes.
time. Yes.
Someone to get out and take a stand, and I know he would just probably turn over in his grave to see what it is become.
In fact, his family has come over. We've had his family, his descendants have come.
Have they?
Yes,
Okay,
they've
that
come.
is great.
When we had the original groundbreaking of the Doorway of No Return, they returned.
Awesome.
That is great because he was just so powerful back in community college, and everybody knew Booker Tall. I knew him because my mother and my family, and I had a cousin that she was a black activist there, student, at community college, and they were really back there in the 70s. People were really into their blackest.
Yes.
The blackest
Yeah.
wisdom.
That is
I
true.
created that word.
Yeah,
Okay,
you
add
did.
that. But they were.
But
they
it's
were
a great
really
show.
into their culture.
You know how I would say, everybody worked together in a sense. You mentioned Mayor Voinovich because he really helped get it started.
White.
It showed you how two sides of the coin came together to get something going, and something we're missing today in a lot of things. But hopefully, we'll be returning to more common sense.
So you got to know where you came from, so you know where you're going, and to keep it going. So important.
Now you also mentioned that granite platform with the steps.
Yes.
That hasn't been built yet.
No.
Face.
But once it's built, tell the audience what that can be used for.
Okay. Now the granite platform, which is
show it.
the present, the past, the present, and the future, it will be used. And just imagine water cascading underneath it constantly, and it's huge, and it will show the different parts of the country. But it could be used for a multifaceted thing: lectures, weddings.
I was going to say weddings.
Lectures, weddings, and again, the stairs, you can access it on all three sections by walking up. And it's handicap accessible, so it'll be used for a whole lot. You can use,
Great
it's
place for
awesome.
kids, for the
see another
students to
picture
go
of
at prom time and,
You know
take
how you have to
pictures.
drop down?
So let me ask you. So how does a person go about reserving the use of that?
you just go to the city.
Okay,
you go
so
to
we
the
don't go to
city?
you guys. We go
No.
to the city. Okay.
The land belongs to the city of Cleveland.
And
Okay.
and they just notify us.
So do they charge? There's no charge?
Well, as far as we know, there's no charge.
Okay. So that's something to be looked into. So if you want to have an event or your wedding.
Take your wedding pictures there,
In
which you
fact,
see a lot of people
in
do.
fact, there's been 2 weddings there.
Okay.
Already?
Yes, there's been 2
And it kind of
weddings.
depends on what you want to do at the garden, if there's a charge. If you want to have a big event, like a concert or something like that,
Okay.
and they want to make sure that there's proper security
Right, and clean
food
up.
and that. So, depending on what you want to do at any of the gardens, there could be a charge.
Okay.
But I know those persons who are caretakers are oftentimes over there. We
Okay.
make sure that.
So Ben, when you volunteer, you can also volunteer to be part of the cleanup?
Yes,
Oh, yes,
But
absolutely.
they're responsible for cleaning it up.
The city is?
No,
The
persons
individual.
The individuals.
Okay,
that have
okay.
An event.
that has the event, and we just want to make sure that it's done.
Okay, so now who is doing the maintenance of the garden throughout the year?
We are doing the maintenance
Volunteers.
of the gardens.
The
we have,
volunteers
the
are doing this.
volunteers. We have the city who does the outer perimeter
Okay.
outside the ropes for the large hills, but we have our landscapers that we pay to come down and cut the deep. But we do the actual weeding and planting
Okay.
and all of that every single day.
Okay, so you could actually go there and learn how to plant.
In fact, I'm starting a Rosebush Club because my hands have just been those birds. Because we have rose bushes that are just beautiful. They're just. But it gets a little sticky,
Yeah.
kind
So
of, even
you
with the
teach
gloves.
this rosebush
No, I'm
class?
going to have somebody who's going
Yeah.
to
To
teach
do it.
us.
Okay.
Yes, yes, indeed.
Okay.
Because there are some diehards. They're just there. And the average age, they're probably 85, 80.
What
years
kind of
old.
plants do we have
Are you-
over there now?
We have some special plants that are contiguous to the atmosphere or the African, but the predominant one are the tiger grass. The tiger grass that grow, the different color grass that grows, and we just keep them weeded, cut it down, and then we have our knockout roses, which are predominant. The knockout roses are just beautiful.
Okay.
And then we have the others, and then we have the booklet. Dan Bickerstaff was able to get the flower arrangements of what, so we try to keep just those plants that are.
And that's all on the website and everything.
Oh no, but we
What
can
about the flower?
provide that.
Oh, awesome. Okay.
Yeah, that would be good to put on there.
Yes, yeah.
Types
we
of
can.
flowers at the garden.
Yeah, because I love that. I know this time of year, what do we have out here? The Home and Garden Show. Are we out at the Home and Garden Show? Is that
We just go personally.
okay? Okay. So do you look in the future to probably be at the Home and Garden Show? I mean, because they have
The plate is
different.
just so full out there.
Firstly, I had to get finish the phases,
Instead the phases.
Okay.
then promote.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think that would be good too. And once we, get it where it needs to be, because they have a huge turnout, and this way we can see.
Right
know.
before spring.
Yeah. All right, so I want you guys to give out the information that we have coming up.
First fundraiser.
Our first fundraiser, again, is going to be at Sault City of Angels Dance Studio, which is going to be next Sunday, February the 17th, starting at 4 o'clock. We're very excited. You can come and see a performance of Cuban dance and Simba, which is a high-spirited African dance. We will also have on February the 21st, the beginning of our Heritage Series, which we will have Dr. Ronnie Dunn, who is the Chief Diversity and Inclusion Officer at Cleveland State University, coming to speak on Cleveland's African American Glorious Past. So,
And what's the dome? I know each one has something to donate.
well,
to
the
be a
first
part.
one, the dance studio, it's a donation of $15.
Right.
And at the East Cleveland Library, it's a free will offering. You know, we want you to donate whatever you want, whatever you feel that you can. It's actually a free event, but, you know, we are asking people for a free will donation.
That's awesome.
Have you found that
just-
African Americans sense a sense of pride when you tell them about this particular
Oh, absolutely.
garden?
Absolutely. Yes, yes.
And
Absolutely.
we sell at these previous venues. We've sold our T-shirts, and it has this large logo on the front, and African American Cultural Gardens, and it's different colors, and it's a mere $10.
Oh,
Well,
nice.
they eat it up. I mean, it's because it's theirs, and I've
Right.
seen them. It's been around for years, but they take ownership, sense of pride, and why is it taking so long has been oftentimes their question. Why hasn't it been done before? What's taking so long? Because again, it's voluntary.
Right.
It's
Right.
through donations.
Right.
And I do want you to know that the East Cleveland Library is located at 14101 Euclid Avenue. So if you're coming from downtown, you could take the HealthLink bus right on down. It'll
Right.
let you off right in front of it.
You got the rapid right behind it.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So we're
Yeah.
excited. That's on February 21st from 5:30 to 7.
Thank you so much. So please come on out, take advantage of all this culture and goodness and greenery. I'm just excited. I can't wait for it to get warm again. And come out and do a little salsa and learn how to do a little, what we're going to be doing there?
We're going to be doing Simba dancing
Simba
and
dancing.
Afro-Cuban dancing. So we're pretty excited. And you can get tickets for this event on Eventbrite
Okay.
also.
All right. And there's a number to call
And on
for
the
tickets?
Eventbrite,
The number to call for tickets is 216-509-6427.
and on Eventbrite, they just put your name in there.
Well, on Eventbrite, just put in Black History Month celebration and fundraiser, and it'll take you to that.
Excellent. Well, that's going to be it for our show today. We'll be back next Sunday, and we want to thank you all again for coming and being on What's Going On with Lady D and Sir John. And we are the home of what?
The 25-cent advertisement. 25 cents? Hey, you can't beat that.
Yeah, I'm
Nah,
telling you.
Can't beat it at all.
And if you have something wonderful going on this month or next month or throughout the year, please give me a call at 216-571-2235.
And
Thank you so
I just want to say, keep the African American Culture Gardens in mind this year. Let's really push for it. If all of us do it, $20, 20 cents, we can get this completed.
Let's make it happen. See you next Sunday.
That's a wrap.